It is often the case that when I and others attempt to convey the ideas of natural societies and resource-based economies to audiences, in person, in online forums or otherwise, we are met with ridicule, often in the form of viewing the idea as wildly utopian, or comparison to past failed systems, and a general misunderstanding of the idea as a whole. This isn't to say those are the only responses, but they are the main criticisms of the idea. In today's video I wanted to touch upon problems people have for seeing different social systems as a progression from where we are now. I also want to correct some misconceptions surrounding natural law societies and resource-based economies that people may have. The primary source of the inability to comprehend our ideas of natural law resource-based economies seems often to be people's lack of foresight when considering how people could live differently compared to how they do today. At present, people are very busy. They lack the time and energy to think about how they could improve the world around them, and, in the process, with help from media propaganda, herd mentalities and so on, people's minds have become encased into the view of this is how the world is now, and nothing can or will ever change. The right here, right now is all most people know, and so this makes it difficult for people to imagine and conceptualize a different way of living. If you went up to your average person right now and started communicating the idea of an RBE, for example, you would likely find that they wouldn't understand what you're trying to tell them. They wouldn't have an idea about what such a system is, or what it would look like. Resource-based economies and natural law societies in particular are difficult to communicate to the layman, because they are so radical and far out from the social order of today, they would be tricky for most to wrap their head around. However, when advocates of the aforementioned attempt to communicate those ideas with regular people, their preconceptions of such often show a stark misunderstanding. What does this response usually entail? Comparison to previous historical attempts at changing the social order. Resource-based economic systems are often fallaciously compared to historical examples of totalitarian dictatorships such as the USSR and the People's Republic of China. What is not understood is that RBEs would function very differently to said regimes. For example, there would be little in terms of censoring the media, people would have freedom of speech, and would enjoy greater autonomy and freedom of expression than in those systems of governance. What this all means is that since most people are unable to imagine or foresee systems like an RBE when it is being explained to them, they try to approximate what said system would look like by referencing socio-economic models of the past. Historical mantra aside, a significant contributor to what I am now referring to as the Foresight Problem is the social engineering and conditioning each and every one of us goes through as we are nurtured from our infancy to our adulthood. We are taught from a young age that we must go to school to be bossed around by an autocratic schooling system, to get an education for an eventual job where we are bossed around by another autocrat, the boss, the CEO, the capitalist. These people exploit those who work for them until those workers are unable to work because all those years of job-related stress, physical, mental and emotional, has left them broken and frail in their elder years. At this stage, people are told they can enjoy their life, but the reality is that retirement isn't a reward, it is a type of redundancy. A way of telling people that they are no longer useful and should die off as soon as possible. This perception of reality is constantly drilled into our heads by politicians, pundits, business leaders and so on. And because people believe what the wealthy and powerful tell them, this worldview is self-sustaining. It is passed on generationally. Although not impossible, this cookie-cutter worldview of how things are and will be, despite there being workable alternatives, will be difficult to dissolve. Aside from informing the public about new ideas and raising awareness, there isn't really much we can do about this. It's likely that once we have a proof of concept, incorporating the ideas of natural law and resource-based economics, that wider society will become more receptive to these ideas. And so, in the midterm, this is what advocates and organisations should aim for. Something I briefly touched upon earlier in this video is the issue of optics. People who are advocates of anti- or post-capitalist philosophies such as socialism or anarchism are heavily criticised because they have negative optics. People believe said advocates are bad because they are led to believe so, regardless of the truth or fallacy of the matter. Anarchists, for example, are highly demonized because of the minority of them that are related to organizations such as Antifa, which has been scrutinized for their acts of violent protest. Socialists, on the other hand, are criticised for their past attempts at their ideology, which regular people tend to believe as the sole cause of totalitarian dictatorships in the 20th century, despite there being a whole litany of factors which led to such things taking place. While the ideas of natural law and resource-based economies may look attractive to leftists, particularly of the libertarian vein, it is important that these ideas and the people that support NLRBEs do not inherit the negative optics of similar ideas. This is one of the main reasons why RBE proponents tend to distance themselves from getting too involved in leftist dialogue, but another reason why is just because a natural law resource-based economy is not a political system like socialism and anarchism are. A political ideology and an idea to rewrite the foundations of our culture and economics can't really gain much from being compared to one another. Reason being that although an RBE might sound similar to communism, it is its own new idea that will be implemented in a very different way to most alternative systems. Of course, here, a working proof of concept would greatly help the image of RBEs as an idea. However, clearly we are not at that stage yet, and so communicating the idea to people while preventing bad optics from manifesting will be a difficult task. Do bear in mind that not only has the RBE been criticised as comparable to the likes of Maoism or Juche, it is also considered by some to be utopian and unachievable. This we can mitigate through communicating to people not only how current technological trends will make RBEs ever more possible, but also by showing people how the idea fixes the issues of the current socio-economic model. Case in point, the main fuel source that we use to drive our economy today is fossil fuels like coal, oil and gas. These fuel sources are not only polluting the lands and releasing greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, they are less energy dense when used compared to other methods of energy generation such as LFTR reactors or even conventional nuclear plants. In an RBE, we would take advantage of the most efficient and sustainable ways of generating the most energy possible, since no one any longer profits from the use of archaic and dirty fuel sources. A thing that is definitely important to consider when assessing people's societal consciousness is their education level. Because of capitalism's uncanny, counterproductive tendency to cause apathy within its education systems, a fair few people don't even have a basic understanding of economics or sciences, for example, and so trying to convey the ideas of RBEs to them would be tricky. There are also a number of intellectuals and academics who have professed in conventional theories about society and economics, who may assume that anyone who disagrees with such is erroneously misinformed. While these people may reject the ideas proposed initially, intricate and meticulous explanation might convince them to reconsider their views. Overall though, I think it is important that when communicating the ideas of natural law and resource-based economies to people, it is crucial that the proposed system is explained to people as clear as possible, and with logical comparisons to life as it is now. Also, if we as advocates want to get more people supporting RBEs, we should focus on explaining how it would benefit them personally, as well as wider civilization. Whether related to my previous points or not, there is a demographic of people I have yet to touch upon in this video, and that is people who see the failings of our current system, but think that any attempts at fixing such or creating a new society would be futile efforts. These people tend to be rather pessimistic, and therefore it wouldn't be a stretch to assume they're at least somewhat closed-minded. They also have a tendency to be misanthropic, which means that they view the problems of society as caused by humans rather than the social systems and structures themselves. Although breaking through the cynicism of some individuals may take time, making them aware of ideas such as RBEs may open them up and show them that alternatives to the current social systems and structures are indeed possible. And for misanthropes, explaining why an RBE would be a better system than what we currently have may entice them into correctly thinking that the problems of society are caused by the social structures and systems that we currently have rather than the people that live within them. In conclusion, while the barriers to understanding natural law and resource-based economies will take time to break down, it is still important that proponents, advocates and activists remain persistent in communicating these ideas to society and raising awareness of the problems of our current system. In doing this, we must utilise a variety of methods such as social media, blogs and conferences, much like what Peter Joseph conducts occasionally. In addition, when communicating these ideas to regular people, it is important to keep things informative yet clear and concise. This is why my next video will be a short 60-second clip of my attempt at just that. For now though, it's farewell from me. I've been Adam Jones, and I'll catch you all in the next one.